this is something, I've really had the pleasure of introducing 3 speakers over these last 2 days, and of taking a few moments to let you know about who they are. And we met Anand yesterday and Thomas. We briefly met Lorena, and we both decided that we would save this introduction for today because I want for you to put it into context with what she's going to chat with us about today. Really nice of her to come up and give us a little AI primer yesterday, which was really fun. It felt like half of the room felt comfortable with AI and like using tools on a day-to-day basis, and the other half of us are kind of like, okay, if I have to. So it was kind of fun to just get somebody's perspective that could kind of give us a little nudge in our personal lives to start exploring with it a little bit more. But let me give you a little bit of background on Lorena, if you don't mind, for just a moment. Lorena is the CEO of an organization called SYD, S-Y-D, See Yourself Different. The firm's focus is empowerment. Our mission is to empower 1 billion people to take charge of their life quality by 2025. It's not that far off. We'll see how you're doing. AI-powered research, a pipeline of over 1 million research papers, constantly works to help people to understand their biology and behavior, offer science-backed recommendations, and provide insights for enterprises. Life quality, our solution embraces 9 interconnected dimensions influencing one another. This extends beyond mental well-being, encompassing physical health, cognitive ability, social interactions, environmental footprint, and financial wellness. So I'm really excited to learn more about this. I've been spending some time with Lorena and her team, and the more I learn about it, the more I get excited about what the future looks like for us and the types of programs that we can offer our clients and their employees. And even more I'd like to share is a bit about Lorena's background. She is the CEO of SYD, as I said, a leader with 5 degrees in mathematics, economics, and finance. A published author with experience managing portfolios exceeding 200 billion pounds, and an athlete with 2 world records. I'm super interested in that. So we need to hear about that. Her personal health challenges drove her to establish SYD, a science-backed AI-powered preventive precision health platform, solidifying her as a top 30 woman in AI. So she is an expert. I wasn't overstepping. A Web3 enthusiast and a participant in the Harvard President Program, all in pursuit of enhancing the quality of life for 1 billion individuals. So it's my pleasure to introduce Lorena. Thank you for being with us. Really excited to hear about those 2 records that you have. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction, Jill. Thank you. And a real pleasure to be here with you again. Just in case you didn't get enough of AI yesterday, we're doubling down today. By the end of today, everyone is going to be an expert, at least in ChatGPT. So Jill hinted a little bit about the journey that led me to this space. And my mantra is do or die trying. And this has been the wavering journey that took me from Romania. I was born in Romania to a mother entrepreneur and a father quantum physicist. And I've promised myself I will never, ever start a business. I've never seen my mother. She used to wake up at 4 a.m. every day and come back at midnight. And I said, I'm going to geek out on science. I also had, if you'd like, I'm going to call it a superpower. I was born with Asperger's, which meant that I'm incredibly good with numbers, not so much with people. So my parents have really done an amazing job to expose me to every other dimension of life beyond math. Though I've ended up doing 5 degrees in math, finance, economics, I left home at 17, so I've always done 2 universities in parallel. And in my early 20s, it was the time when the Nobel Prize for Peace for microfinance was given, and I was fascinated by microfinance as a tool for empowering people. So I wrote an article, just my fascination with it. And within a few months, publisher contacted me to write a book. And initially I thought, this can't be real. So I ignored it the first 3-4 times, and they insisted. So that's how the book came about. And I published a book, I think I was 24 when the book came out, on microfinance as the science of empowering people with tools to take charge of their lives. And that mantra has really followed me through my life, and now empowering people with tools to improve their life quality. Though the journey wasn't quite that straight. So after all of the studying and publishing books, I spent about a decade in investment banking, as one does. I mean, it used to be cool to be an investment banker. And I never had a stop button. So literally all-nighters at least once or twice a week, though I loved what I was doing. So, in our 20s, we all feel invincible. Anything is possible. So I literally completely disregarded my body, completely disregarded that I'm a human being, and I just focused on work until my body disagreed, and I went to sleep on a Friday. I woke up on a Sunday, and my partner said, well, this doesn't seem right. And I was completely oblivious. I was like, no, I'm fine. I was just tired. I'm all okay. And long story short, I was that close to an anaphylactic shock. My hormonal levels were through the roof. And I was on a journey of 3 years of trying everything under the sun to try to get myself back to at least a normal life. And because of everyone pushing me in a different direction, different medicine, different hormonal therapies, and nothing worked. At one point, I remember I was in the office of the GP in the UK. At the time, I was living in the UK. And he basically said, I said, okay, I'm going to stop with all of this. This is not working. It doesn't make sense. I was big. I couldn't wake up in the morning. I couldn't go to sleep. So I was literally shattered as a body, as a human being. And he said, well, if you stop this, you have 3 years to live. And it was that I needed to hear for me to actually take charge of what was happening for me. And that was the point where I decided that surely there is a better way. There must be something that I can do that helps me in this journey, because I was in my 20s. I mean, this is not supposed to end like this. And I like to say that was the seed of SYD, the seed of SID, because that started a 2-year journey where I geeked out on every research paper, everything that I could find to actually understand my physiology. And in finance, the word on the street is that we can do anything with numbers. Numbers is easy to play with you. But medicine, I thought it's black and white. They know the answer. It's absolutely the truth. And my experience with it was different. So after 2 years, I've built an algorithm. I've literally taken all the knowledge that I could find, long before AI was cool. And within 18 months, I've slowly reduced my different types of medication, my hormonal medication that I was taking, did blood tests. So literally, I self-medicated. I was my own little doctor. And within 18 months, I was completely off the medication. I was feeling great. And my geeky heart, my science heart, still felt like, but is this for real? I mean, I played with all of these science papers, am I healthy? And at the time, a friend reached out and said, we're doing this thing, it has never been done before. I said, whatever it is, count me in. So that turned out to be the 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. And I thought, if I can survive that, I must be healthy. So that was in 2015. We were the first team ever to do 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. That was the only time when I saw all continents. We started in Melbourne, Abu Dhabi, Paris, Tunis, New York, Chile, Antarctica. And that was if you like, the only space in my life where I just had time. I mean, even if you haven't run a marathon, if you just run, it's such a meditative, it's a joyful experience. And it also allows headspace to think about what's important. And in that endless number of hours that I was running the marathons, I started to ask myself whether finance is really the thing that I want to spend the rest of my life with. Whether I can dedicate the rest of my life to doing the work that I was doing. And slowly, the ideas emerged in my head that I can leverage the superpowers I have. I'm good with numbers. I really care about other people. I see the big picture. I am creative. And how can I harness all of that into something that is more impactful, that is really touching people's lives? And I know that sounds cheesy. So I kept on going in and checking in. What's the thing that's real? What can I build that genuinely impacts people's lives, but it's measurable? Because it's very easy to go and say, okay, we're going to change the world, but tangibly to be able to measure that and show that the impact is there is quite a challenge. So long story short, I came back from the marathons. I left my role in finance. And every friend I had completely declared me mad because I was at the peak of my career, in my 20s, making more money than common sense. And I decided to leave to do something that I knew very little about. And with that, I invested a very good chunk of my own capital. I built a team of researchers with the sole mantra of, in science we trust. And we've built, it took about 4.5 years of just R&D, just research to figure out what does life quality mean? How can we measure that? How can we empower millions of people to really take charge? Because it's not about someone else stepping into your life. It's really about you taking charge of your own life quality and doing these tiny little things that take maybe 30 seconds a day, but every day. So with that mantra, we've really started a giant movement in what life quality means, and you'll see in a bit what the results have been. Though in this space of science, we've discussed yesterday also over drinks and dinner, that there's so much now, if you think of social media, there's so much content and there's so much information that it's really hard to identify what is real. What actually works? What can you trust? And what is really impactful for what you are trying to do? And if we look at what science has delivered to us, it really has done amazing things in terms of our healthcare, vaccines, genetics. I mean, today, one of the most impactful breakthroughs in genetics is that we were able to reverse blindness in someone that has been born blind due to a genetic mutation. We were able to reverse that. I mean, how powerful is that to give the gift of sight to someone again. And then the predictive preventive health, I was shocked to figure out that of $8 trillion, so that's with the T, $8 trillion every year, global healthcare costs, 7.2 trillion, so 90% of that is purely preventable. So 90% of the global healthcare costs we have are preventable. If everyone takes and does just a tiny bit and takes that charge in their own hands with the right tools, because no one is going to spend 5 years doing the research. And if you look at transportation, we touched on this yesterday, but if you think back when we had horses and people talked about, people were asked, what would you like? And people said, oh, you know, faster horses. We'd like faster horses. Well, that's the car. And no one could imagine at the time, when you just had horses, that there'll be cars and then there'll be rockets. So this journey with AI is really taking us and it's accelerating that path of progress. And it's only bound by our creativity. How creative can you get in terms of using these tools that are at our disposal? In technology overall, we now take the internet for granted. And internet is, I mean, in the 80s, when people talked about internet, everyone was incredibly skeptical. Everyone thought that with the internet, we're going to lose all of our privacy. We're going to lose what it means to be human. But actually, the internet has amplified what it means to be human. Because I can speak to my mother in the next few hours back in Romania, and she feels connected and she feels heard, albeit, you know, it would take me 3 days to get to her otherwise. So really, these tools are here to amplify what it means to be human. And AI will do exactly the same if we are wise enough to know how to use it. And in terms of what, you know, what is the path over the next maybe 3-5 years, I think with all of this content that we are overwhelmed with, is really going to take a lot of discernment and a lot of rationality and wisdom to figure out what is real. And that is where science can be very powerful to help discern the right, the good, and the helpful. And on that, I'd love to take you on a short journey of a short quiz of discerning what's real. Might sound incredible, but it is. So if I could have a show of hands, how many people think this is real? Yeah, because I said it before. So yeah, that's correct. I started you easy. And if you were right, keep your hands up. Now, smoking is the leading cause of preventable deaths worldwide. How many people think that's right? Okay. No. It's actually poor diet and lack of activity. So if you're right on both of them, stay up. Cool. Burnout costs between 125 and 190 billion every year in healthcare costs. I mean, burnout is the name of the game now, but those numbers are huge. So that is true, and that's going up by about 20 to 22% year on year. So if you're right, keep it up. A bit of exercise. Quiet quitting is a trend when you quietly send your resignation letter and crawl to the door before anyone notices. No. Quiet quitting is basically, and now this after COVID, quiet quitting has really taken the world by storm. It's people that have actually stopped working. They, especially in a remote environment or going back to the office, and they actually don't do the work. And after months, depending on the size of the organization, after a few months, someone notices that the work is not being done. And that's starting to be a massive issue in organization. The bigger the organization, the bigger the quiet quitting topic. The global economy is losing almost 9 trillion due to quiet quitting. So that's a T, that's with the T, trillions. How many people still have their hands up? Boom. So that's $9 trillion that we lose in productivity, purely due to people actually not feeling empowered, not feeling motivated, just not in the mood anymore to do the work. More than 50% of people do not understand the difference between well-being and life quality. Yep. Cool. So how many people still have their hands up? Boom! That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent to get all of those straight, because the world that we're living in is becoming more and more complex. And these subtle trends now that are emerging when it comes to people's life quality and actually existing in this world are really changing, and they are changing fast. So what is life quality? Well, I'm sure many of you have seen this. Gym, which corporate doesn't have a gym membership in today's world? Or yoga classes? Sound healing. And of course, the favorite Friday pizza, which is every Monday. So if we really think, life quality is really in those tiny little things that we do every day. It's not something that you do once a month or at the weekend. It's those tiny little things that you do. Maybe it's a routine you have that you spend 5 minutes a day just being still. Or maybe you go for a walk. Or maybe it's just that 1 minute where you can close your eyes and just be. And that in time really builds up to something very powerful. That is why we've created SID, to really bring that opportunity to know what is that 30 seconds or 60 seconds, what can you dedicate those 30 seconds to that really makes the biggest difference for you, as well as for organizations. So who are we? As Jill hinted, we've basically processed the entire universe of research when it comes to preventive health. And today is about 1.2 million papers. Imagine if you needed doctors or physicians to read 1 million papers, to actually know what is the whole universe of insights that would be applicable to one person. We need about 60,000 people that all day long, all they do is just read papers. And so we've built an engine, we've leveraged AI to have an AI that continuously reads every new paper that comes out. And there's a lot of controversy also in research. You have today a paper that says coffee is good for you. Tomorrow a paper that says coffee is bad for you. The day after a paper that comes, coffee is good for you if you do this. Then coffee is bad for you if you do that. So really to be able to know what works for the largest number of people, depending on their circumstances, depending on their needs, depending on their background, and really apply that, harness all of that knowledge to the person at the click of a button. So we've basically powered that, taken the AI tool, and we've leveraged it to do the heavy lifting in taking all of this knowledge, package it up, and make it accessible for everyone at their fingertips. We've built 9 life quality dimensions because, life quality is complex. And there are about 470 different KPIs, different measurements that we take across these 9 dimensions. When we think of physical health, most people think of performance, micronutrients, BMI, sleep quality, but there's a ton more that determines your physical health. If you look at emotional health, emotional intelligence, resilience is a huge topic now. So all of these things, imagine if you could actually know what is the level of resilience of someone, what's the level of emotional intelligence, and that combined with their physical health KPIs, you would have a much clearer picture as to how you can best help that individual. Now imagine if you add the social life dimension. You could have someone that is very, very fit, that is emotionally relatively resilient, but doesn't have a support group, doesn't have a social circle, doesn't value relationships, or doesn't know how to value relationships. And I've been there. I know that. Because one of the challenges with people with Asperger's is harder to read emotions on other people. So then it was a journey of actually educating myself and practicing to better understand and build healthier connections. And now add to that brain power. There is an interesting link between things like rationality, honesty, and people's ability to build healthy long-term relationships. So imagine you take physical health, emotions, social, and brain power. How much wholesome of a picture do you have of an individual and how you can best help them? And then self-awareness. Self-awareness research has already started in the 1960s because it showed that if you don't have a clear picture of yourself, it's really hard to interact in the world because you're not clear who you are, what superpowers you have, how you come across for other people. So really understanding what is, and building that self-awareness with every little step every day is incredibly powerful in managing your mental health, in managing your overall life quality. Purpose. To give you an example, we do this dashboard for organizations and we show them what is the aggregate anonymized level of these different LQI dimensions. And in end of last year, we've done an aggregate study across the different organizations. And the one thing that absolutely no one ranked as important, no C executive ranked as number one in importance from these 9 dimensions was purpose. Though if you looked at the bottom up, so employee aggregated bottom up data, purpose was the one thing that every employee prioritized as core to why they make a decision to stay with the organization or why they make a decision to switch from one to another. So sense of purpose is really starting to be a key driver in decisions in retaining and attracting employees for organizations around the world. Then career. You mentioned coaching, and you've had the privilege to experience that, which is starting to be very, very powerful. Though millions of people just don't have the bandwidth, or they don't have the capital, or they don't have the opportunity to interact face-to-face with someone that can help them on their career path. So imagine if you just had on your phone and you can have a conversation and figure out how you could move your career forward just one tiny step and gain that extra sense of confidence that you are going on a specific path. So you have your micro career coach right there at your fingertips. Financial health. Everyone has started to talk about financial well-being, which is critical now. And of course, salary sacrifice schemes and early getting paid early, pensions, of course, very valuable. Though most people struggle with budgeting. So if you pay them more money, they will still have the same categories of challenges because budgeting is not something that is familiar or taught in school. So really to be able to help people with financial literacy, with budgeting, with these tiny little areas where they can be supported every day can be very powerful. And then the last, but definitely not least, environment. Both the environment in the organization as well as the impact that the individual has on the outside environment. And to educate, to support, to give micro tips of what people could actually do is really powerful for millions. Because if we really want to make a dent into what's going on now on the environmental scale, we really need to harness the energy of every person out there. And now imagine bringing all of this together. For every person to be able to have that guide at their fingertips to support them across these different areas, depending on which one is important to them at any point in time. Even one person would struggle to be able to give advice to another individual on all of these areas. That is why what we've built is an engine. It's an AI that is able to support every individual on their journey, powered by research, understanding. We've built a human-level understanding layer such that the AI is able to understand the context of every person. Personalization, because we're all different. We need to figure out how different. And then learning. And Jill, you shared your experience with ChatGPT, and I mentioned that, when you type something in ChatGPT and you get back a really wholesome email, it's because it's leveraging all of the knowledge and all of the learning of everyone else that needed to write that. And imagine the same in all of these areas if we harness all of the knowledge of everyone else that has done that and we share it with you exactly at that point in time. And it seems to work. We spent 4.5 years just R&D. So we've been recognized by the European Commission. We received the Seal of Excellence for Research and Innovation. I've been named top 30 women in AI because we've taken AI and we've applied it to something that is actually in people's hands. Because for the last 3 decades, AI was a theoretical exploration, not necessarily a tool. And the Global Innovation Index, which is powered by the World IP Organization and Cornell, named us the future of health because this is the future of health. If 90% of global healthcare costs are preventable, if we can empower people to actually take action, then in the not too distant future, we're going to have less disease and more people that are preventing that, or at least if they can push it down the line by 10, 15, 20 years, 10 years of higher life quality means a lot. And we haven't done it alone. This is really, really important because there's so much knowledge and there's so much beautiful thinking out there. And to join forces, a little bit as you've done with Sequoia Global, to have people that think the same and you come together for a specific mission is really powerful in accelerating progress. And it works. So what we've achieved to date for organizations is a 48% reduction in stress, anxiety, and depression. And I mean, that's huge. That's almost halving the stress, anxiety, and depression in the organization. And the first step there is to be able to measure it. Because a lot, as we've heard yesterday, a lot of it is silent. You don't even know what you don't know. So to be able to measure it bottom up and to be able to see how that tracks over time is powerful. Increase in energy is actually increasing productivity. Because if people feel excited to come to work and they feel excited about their boss and their colleagues, that really amplifies their productivity. It's not about how many emails and how many meetings you've had. It's really about how much energy you put in exactly what you do at that point in time. And overall, we've delivered over 20% increase in life quality over a 12-month period. And specifically in well-being, in the space of well-being, there is a lot of, I'm going to be direct, there's a lot of fluff. So there's a lot of solutions that don't end up walking the talk. And that's a risk both for organizations and for individuals that put their trust in something that actually doesn't end up helping them. So we validated this with NHS, the largest healthcare organization on the planet. We've both done a randomized controlled trial. So basically, during COVID, 10,000 NHS staff were invited to stress, anxiety, depression, PTSD study. So of those, the ones that had clinical levels of anxiety, depression, and stress were offered SID as an intervention, so as a solution. And already in 3 months, they've experienced 17% reduction in clinical anxiety and 15% reduction in clinical depression. I mean, that, maybe the context helps. It takes about 9 months to reduce clinical depression levels in therapist-patient interaction by 3%. And mostly now in the NHS, it takes 6 months to get your first appointment. So really having a digital tool that powers that journey is powerful to make sure that more people feel included. And so now to the big unveiling. It's an app. It's an app that every employee can engage with, literally any day, 24/7, every minute of every day when they need it. And we've seen that people use it between 60 seconds and 2 minutes per day. The journey takes them through a mood check-in, and then they can chat with Sid for any type of topic that they have. If they feel bored, if they feel stressed, if they feel excited, that's the journey that then Sid takes them through to dive deeper into what drives them. And we talk about life quality, and we don't talk about depression and anxiety, because that further pulls them down. So if we talk about what are the micro things that they can do, that we've seen that the engagement and the impact is the one that you've seen in the numbers. It provides you really tiny recommendations, micro interventions that are suitable to your context, to your needs, to your goals every day of every week. And of course, you can have your own plan built specifically for you and for what is needed for your goal. And all of that is brought together to you in the context of educating the employee on all of those 9 life quality dimensions, educating them on what are micro moments of joy that they can create in their lives, as well as learning tools of how they can better manage their resilience, their stress, and their productivity. And doing that also in the context of career advice. As I mentioned, coaching is starting to be a big topic in organizations, environmental impact, and all of the biometrics that whatever tools and gadgets people have, all of that coming together in one place. And now it starts to get interesting. Rather than just giving an app and hoping that it will all be okay, we've created a dashboard for HRs and for the overall organization to be able to see, to better understand your team in an aggregated, anonymized manner. So the HR and the executive will never know that this is Lorena, this is Jill, this is Suzanne. It's rather the entire team, and whether you have a 63% risk of anxiety in your team, whether you have a risk of obesity, those are the top numbers that the HR would need to know to be able to make informed choices. And then double down on really the preventable risks. And in those areas, every HR that we've met said we've never had this data. We just do because we do these once a year questionnaire or once every 3 months questionnaire, and then people tell us, but maybe exactly on the day when we send the questionnaire, people are happy or people are grumpy. So all of that data is biased per that one interaction. So having that pulse of the organization on an ongoing basis is really powerful to figure out where to allocate resources. And even better, to know exactly what's the return on that investment. And how many HRs have ever even heard of the return on investment concept? Though over the past 3 years, HRs kept on sharing that their CEOs is asking for a number. It's like, I've given you $1 million, what are you giving me? And the answer is, well, I'm giving you gym memberships and I'm giving you yoga sessions, and people say they are happier. But now you can actually say, you spend $2 per employee per month, this is the return on investment. You got lower anxiety by that much, which saved you that much in productivity, healthcare costs. You have reduced your risk of obesity. Great, that means that has reduced the risk of physical accidents. So really to be able to have the whole journey of what's the return on investment. What's the possible savings? So when you build a proposal to say, look, with this, you will save at least that much per employee. And then return on engagement, which is now a very sexy topic. What is the return for the organization for one employee being more engaged? And to really be able to share that can be quite powerful. Retention. We know talent attraction is a challenge, but retention is even more so. Because if you can keep your superstars, that really can change the trajectory of your business. And so to know we look at the 11 drivers of retention. And for each of those drivers, for example, here, people feel promoted, empowered, on a mission, to know what percentage of people feel that is present in the organization. Then you know, again, where you can tweak. What are the things that you can do to tweak that? And I think most important today is passion. How do you inspire your teams for them to feel cared for, heard, supported, to do their best? To really come every morning and feel excited about what they do. And that's more of an art. And so in all of this, imagine that the HR has all of that data, but also has a set of tangible programs that they can implement. They can implement themselves with step-by-step guidance for every one of these programs. And these are programs that takes a bit of creativity. It doesn't take extra money. It doesn't take extra effort. It's just a few programs that they can roll out to amplify in the key areas that matter most. And to bring it all together for you, the numbers that we've delivered so far, that the platform has delivered so far, is about 23% increase in productivity over a 12-month period. And that's for populations of both hundreds as well as thousands and tens of thousands of employees. Increased 15% increase in retention. And with that, about 1 day saved in absenteeism or presenteeism. So 1 day less of absenteeism in the organization on average per employee. That is huge. Even if you just take the dollar amount of that, what would be the cost of 1 day of work not being missed? And overall, about a 12 to 20 times return on investment. And for employees, the increase in life quality is 20% plus. We've even achieved about 43% increase in life quality in the most innovative and technologically savvy organizations. The most tech-enabled organizations, the keener they are to improve their productivity, but also their life quality. 15% reduction in depression after 3 months and 17% reduction in anxiety. And the 3 things that I'm going to leave you with. In today's world, to really be able to measure something, whatever you'd like to improve, and then have actionable next steps is really the name of the game. And then to do so in a way in which it's secure, it's private, and it's really empowering people to take charge of it is what we believe is the next generation of empowering your people to take action today. Thank you very much for your time.
Nick, can you take a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to go over a little bit here because I feel like some of you are going to have some questions. So why don't we open it up for a few questions? Thank you.
So the quality of life is quite a subjective topic. And so I'm curious, I mean, as someone who's working for, say, Amazon Logistics over in the Far East, their idea of a quality of life is going to be completely different than someone working for a tech company in California. You must have some sort of baseline. How do you manage that?
Yes, so let me take you back. So first of all, that's our superpower. For us, it's not subjective. In these areas, everyone on the face of the planet associates life quality with one or multiple of these dimensions, depending on where they are. So where they are on their life journey. So what we've done behind each of these areas, there are about 60 to 90 KPIs, so key measurements that we collect. So for us, it's not subjective. We're not asking people, hey, do you feel we've improved your life quality? We measure, so part 1 is that we take device measure, anything that is on the device, whether that's their movement data, sleep data, location data, temperature, IP, all of that gives us a baseline for where they are. From there, we applied the million research papers. The role of the paper is, number one, to tell us that if a person has given us these two KPIs, the likely number for the third KPI is this. So for all of this is numbers. There's no subjectivity. It doesn't mean it's a perfect science, but it's the best science that exists to measure life quality. And then it brings a baseline. When people onboard on the app, there is a baseline for the LQI. And that's what we report to the organization. In the first 3 months, after everyone has onboarded, we say, look, this is your baseline. Maybe it's 53% across the organization. And then they can break it down. Look, for the Middle East, this is the number. Or for this team, logistics, this is the number. We don't, it needs to be minimum 50 people in the group such that the privacy is not breached. But as long as it's 50 people, we can break it down on any location. And then for that type of team, this is your baseline. And in each life quality dimension, we see for physical health is 63, for financial health is 27. And from there, in the dashboard, they can get the program recommendations to actually improve in the areas that matter most. Because we've launched we have clients that have employees in 26 countries, and you see massive differences. Even though the overall life quality is between 50 and 70% across organizations, in these dimensions is very different. Did that answer your question? Thank you.
Yeah, I just foresee
Suzanne,
that, yeah,
the AI guru.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the first question that clients will ask in Australia is privacy.
Yeah.
There's a huge suspicion of anybody that collects data, and we've been a very liberal, open country, and now all of a sudden we're finding governments and things are trying to control every activity. So that's going to be the big question. What happens with the data that's collected? Is it going to be used against us or held anywhere? And what's the storage of our data? And
Thank you for the nudge, and I think I didn't double down enough on privacy. So personally, I've advised the UK government and the Singapore government on radical privacy. So we have a policy. We had that long before COVID, which basically means, number one, none of the employee personal data, it gets anonymized even when it sends to our servers. So we don't know who the person is. Second, for the organization receives aggregated anonymized data. The organization will never know that this is Lorena, this is Suzanne. They will never know employee data. They just know the aggregate data to be able to make informed decisions, because otherwise that data can be used in various ways. We don't share data with governments. We've been asked to sell data. We have a radical privacy, which means that the employee data, the employee owns their own data. It's their data. It's on their device. If they delete their account, all of their data goes with that. Our mission has been to improve life quality. If we wanted to make money on data, there would have been a million other ways to do that. But it's not, organizations don't actually need individual employee data if they really want to do something good. So this is designed such that they can do the good that they want to do, the impact that they want to achieve, without ever having any personal data.
Lorena, I have a question here. Well, yes. First, congratulate you for what you have achieved. It's great. Congratulations. A couple of questions. First, what is your proposal to us? I mean, in terms of what do you? I mean,
you can ask Jill.
Okay, yeah. You can ask Jill that. All right. So are you going to talk about that? I mean, because the idea is that we can offer this app to our customers and the cost and all that. Are you going to talk about that?
You know what I think today was I wanted you to get excited about this.
Yes.
And then I think next step is what can we do in partnership with Lorena. So I think that's part two.
Okay.
I think part one, this was a big conversation today. Yeah. and it was for me when we first had it. And we know we can do something together, but we don't know what that is yet. I think we need to start crafting that along with you. So, if you can bear with us for just a short time, I think that we'll be back with something, part two of this
the tool will be very interesting for our customers. The other question is, when the employee is, writing how he's feeling and everything, who's answering? The AI is answering? Is a robot answering, or you have a bunch of people answering? Or how you do that?
It's the it's the AI that has read all the research. So it's as if it's a expert. I don't want to call it a doctor. It's an expert that knows all of the research that's there.
Go ahead, please.
Lorena? I have apps that do a lot of things that are similar to this. I'm sure yours is far superior, and it's incredible. The main problem is, how do you change behavior? I know I should go for a walk after I eat lunch, but I eat lunch at my desk working. The only time I get up is to go to the bathroom, come back to my desk, and it's like once my behind is planted on the seat, it's hard to get it off the seat because I'm sort of so obsessed with the work.
Perfect.
So how do we change? Does your AI figure out how this person's mind works and what motivates them to take action?
Thank you. I mean, this is a great audience. First of all, as you've seen, nowhere in the slides, nowhere on our website do we talk about behavior change. I've spoken to all of the experts, and of course, everyone would like to change behavior. So, we're all unique individuals. We want to do what we want to do. So the superpower here is to really understand you. Maybe for you, it's just having 2 more glasses of water at your desk. And for the next 3 weeks, you have 2 more glasses of water at your desk. And that's great, because that water, the brain is 80% water, that already delivers to you a micro improvement. And maybe in 3 months, you're going to stand up and go for a walk. So we apply, there's a big 5 personality model. We actually have a big 7 personality model that we've done with the University of Toronto to understand you. So the engine builds a model to understand who you are. That's why it's a digital twin, where we had it on the previous slide. Because if I understand what motivates you, then I can figure out what's the little thing that maybe just a chat is going to give you that extra boost and energy to stand up. But maybe you don't really need to stand up. That the digital twin that we built of you is enabling us to give you that micro set of interactions that's relevant to you. And maybe if it's a very hot country, people don't like to go outside and go for a walk. It needs to be a different set of recommendations that work. So figuring out what works for that person is really powerful. And of course, moving, exercise, it'd be amazing. But we can't expect that every person is going to go out for a 5-minute walk or for 7 marathons.
I know what it is. No, but I know I should. I want to.
We all know that has never worked.
We need to sleep early, all of these things, but then there's a conference call at 10 p.m. or something, right?
Or at 2 a.m.
Or whatever. Yeah.
So working around you, exactly, working around who you are is the powerful part. And it takes a bit of time for Sid to get to know the person, so it's not like you've onboarded and then he knows everything about you. It's in every interaction, it learns a bit more. A little bit like a friend. If you think you have a friend, you meet them for the first time, and Julie mentioned the 2 years. It takes time until someone gets to know you well enough. So the better it gets to know you, the more it recommends something that's relevant to you.
Is coffee good or bad for you? Most important question.
No, today. How about 2 more questions? Francis, why don't you go ahead?
Very impressive. It's very interesting. Sorry your life has been so dull so far. But, hopefully it gets better. So the question I have is, one, this looks really good. We always face the same thing, the bright new shiny toy. So can you talk about the take-up rate and participation rate you've seen on employer groups, and then the persistency? When does it drop off? When do you notice that we've moved on to something else?
Perfect. And this is a good background to why Jill and I started to talk. One of the key, so the top layer numbers is that we have engagement at launch between 60 and 98%. So how many people take it up? It's a wide range because it depends on the industry. So the 98% has been a private equity firm with offices in 20 countries. The more 60, so in the NHS, retail, FMCG, it's lower on the scale. So what we've seen is that the more commitment there is from the top, so if the CEO says, look, this is for you, we want to empower you, and it's real, and he's doing it with integrity and authenticity, the uptake rate is much higher. If it's just driven by HR, and HR sends an email and look, this is it, take it up, take it or leave it, uptake is much lower. So that for a fact. We have made a decision, we have now about 156 companies in the pipeline that we are choosing depending on what's their commitment to their employees. We have a database. What's employee scoring, what's trust in CEO, what's commitment from the top, because that's going to dictate how authentic and real is the initiative in the organization. We're not going to go for every and any, it's just for the ones that genuinely want to make a difference. And the conversation with Jill was initiated by one of our investors, and he said, oh, you absolutely have to talk to Jill. And it's been amazing because the focus on the tech world, the uptake and the life quality improvement in the tech world is significantly higher than in other industries. Because it's more, there's been more reinforced commitment to that, so people believe that the company really wants what's good for them. And to put it in context, so with most of the well-being app and the two big ones, Headspace and Calm, that do meditation, they have between 1% and 3% uptake with large organizations. And by the end of month 3 or 4, it's basically 0. We have after 12 months, so at the end of 12 months, 60% are still engaged, 30% use it daily. Because it's 30 seconds, and if they want to meditate, they can meditate. If they want to go for a walk, they can go for a walk. If they want to have a chat, they can have a chat. So it's not one pillar for all. It's depending on what the person needs, and that makes it more engaging. We still have work to do. This is not the end of the journey, though it's doing something good. Yes.
Just curious, for people who are on the spectrum, and I think there are about 10% of people who are unable to identify their own emotion, how do they use that app?
Well, I can give you a snoop into mine. So just an example, one of our partners, the CEO, she's dealing with ADHD. So it's not on the spectrum, ADHD, but this was a conversation 2 days ago. She is using it for example, this is what I've done today. Am I doing too much? I'm drinking coffee 3 cups a day. I start to feel better. Is that good for me? And then the response was that in 70% of people with ADHD, coffee is actually calming, so they can do better work and they can focus more. So it's like it's a little bit like an oracle. You go and say, okay, I've done this. Does this make sense? Or I'm doing this. What plan or what advice would you give me to be able to better present or to feel better in a social context or to be able to share my emotions better? And you could even ask, so I'm feeling a bit unsettled. How can I best communicate that? So literally anything that comes up as a question you can ask to get a science-backed recommendation that this might work. It's still not 100% because every person is different, but at least you get something that has worked for a lot of people. Is that helpful?
How about one more question? Do we have one more? Or Anybody? Okay, all right.
Thank you
for
very
going
much,
up a
everyone.
bit. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you.